Pokemon Central here, and today I'm going to be doing a top 7 of the hardest Pokemon trials in Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now just before we get started, smack a like and subscribe, and just a disclaimer here, this is all my opinion, my experiences, and the only trainers I'll be listing, no Island Kahunas, because I will be doing a separate video for that later. The only trainers I'll be listing would be Olimia, Lana, Kiawe, Mallows, Sophocles, Akarola, and the last one is the Dragonium Z trial, which has no trainer, but it still made it on the list because it counts as a trial. And yeah, let's get into it. For number 7, we have Olimia's trial. It made number 7 because of the Pokemon you encounter. It's pretty easy. The first Pokemon you should encounter is a Yungoos and another Yungoos, but the totem Pokemon is Donald Gumshoe's Trump. If you know what I'm talking about, it is Gumshoes. You will encounter it in Pokemon Sun at level 12, and it will SOS for Yungoos in Pokemon Sun at level 11. Unlike me, if you're playing Pokemon Moon, you will get the Alolan Raticate as their totem Pokemon at level 12. The Alolan Rattata is what the Alolan Raticate will SOS for, and the Alolan Rattata will be level 11, and at this point you don't really have any fighting types, which doesn't mean that you can't KO everything. It just means it's a bit harder, but it's still pretty easy relatively, because no Pokemon is weak to normal type moves, and yeah. That is number 7, and why Olimia's trial made number 7. Number 6 is Mallow's trial. The reason why Mallow's trial made number 6 is because you should have a fire-type Pokemon by that time, because you would have already beaten Kiawe's trial, and you should have already been able to catch a fire-type. The Pokemon that appear in this trial, the totem Pokemon is a Lurantis at level 24 in both games. It will SOS for either a cast form at level 22 in both games, or a Trumbeak at level 22 in both games, and it's relatively easy to defeat them as long as you caught a fire-type Pokemon, or you just have a really strong electric type or flying type. Flying type is a lot easier to use, especially against Lurantis. That's what I would suggest. Don't use electric types, just don't. Sorry, use flying types. Number 5, we have Lana's trial. The reason why Lana's trial made number 5 is because it's not too hard, but it's actually pretty hard. The Pokemon that appear in Lana's trial is Totem Wishiwashi, in other words, Wishiwashi school form at level 20, and it will SOS for an Alomomola at level 18, and it will also SOS for a Wishiwashi at level 18. It's not Wishiwashi that it will SOS for sometimes. Most of the time you'll just encounter them while on your way to the Totem Wishiwashi, and that is not the worst thing, but you shouldn't have any Pokemon that are super effective against Lana's trial until you catch a Pichu in Howley City, which you can do before the trial. That's what I suggest doing. I unfortunately didn't do that, so I just ended up using my Rowlet, super affecting everything. Well, it's actually a Dartrix at that point, but I just used my Dartrix, Leafage, everything, and 3, 2, 1. It's all dead. It's actually pretty easy, and it really depends. If you unfortunately did not choose the grass starter, you should probably catch a Pichu, evolve it into a Pikachu at that point, and that is possible at Howley City. Number 4, we have Kiawe's trial. The reason why Kiawe's trial made number 4 is not because, well, it's super strong and you shouldn't have any Pokemon that are super effective against it. You should actually have some Pokemon that are super effective against it, such as water types, which got in the previous trial, in other words, Wishiwashi. But the reason why it made number 4 is because of the OP Salazzle that you will battle as your totem Pokemon at level 22. 2, and it's OP because that was a stalling moveset. In other words, Toxic, and I forgot the other moves, but it has some pretty stalling moves, and it's pretty hard. And before that, you should battle an Alolan Marowak at level 20, and then there's a Hiker which either has a Salandit or a Alolan Marowak. I'm sorry, I forgot, at level 20. And after that, you defeat it, you will go to the last sort of cutscene, in which case you just say the totem Pokemon, and then the Salazzle will come and attack you, and then it will SOS for a Salandit. It should be pretty easy to take it out. Remember, it has a stalling moveset, so you have to be careful with it. Number 3, we have Dragonium Z trial. Now I know this is technically not like a trainer trial or a gym battle, but it's still sort of one, because it is the last trial that you have to do before you can catch either Solgaleo or Lunala, depending what game you're playing, either Sun or Moon. And the Pokemon that appear in this are pretty OP. The totem Pokemon you will battle is Kommo-o at level 45, which can SOS for a Scizor at level 32 or a Hakamo-o at level 32. And those are pretty strong. And you will have to battle Hakamo-o earlier, as you have to battle Pokemon before you reach the totem. And it's actually pretty hard. Not too hard, but it's pretty hard if you don't have the right team. If you chose Popplio, and now you should have Primarina, it does have access to some Ice-type moves, and that's what I would recommend for the Kommo-o. Luckily, it does, for me, it did not send out, like for SOS, a Scizor. And yeah, that is number 3. And number 2, we have Sophocles trial. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, Sophocles was easy for me. Why was it hard for you? For me, the Vikavolt was really annoying. It is a Vikavolt totem at level 29, which can SOS for a Charjabug at level 27. Not honestly your biggest worry, but the Vikavolt is stalling. And this is the same as the Salazzle, but it came to number 2 because it would just paralyze you, Thunderbolt, Thunder, whatever, I forgot, but it would just keep on attacking you. You can't attack as you're paralyzed. Well, it's usually one turn you can't attack, the other turn you can. At least that's how it was for me. And it was pretty annoying. Eventually, I just beat it with my Decidueye. But it's actually pretty hard if you don't have the correct moves. In which case, I'm sorry. Fighting type moves aren't too easy to obtain in that time, but if you really tried, you should have at least one Pokemon with a fighting type move, which you could easily KO Sophocles trial. But for me, it was hard, so that's why I came to number 2. For number 1, we have Acarola's trial. Now, oh boy, why on earth would Pokemon do this? Now, if you don't know, the totem Pokemon in this trial is Mimikyu. Now, this is the second last trial, remember this. And it has Disguise, and it is at level 33. It will SOS for a Haunter at level 27, or a Gengar at level 27 as well. Think of it. A Mimikyu with access to Disguise, its ability, at level 33, that can SOS for a Haunter or a Gengar. Think about it. If you don't know what Disguise does, it's basically like Substitute, except an ability, and it activates once you send it out, unless the Disguise ability has already been broken, like a Substitute, which is pretty darn weird. I don't get why Pokemon would do this, especially in a trial, but it was very hard for me to take out the Mimikyu. First I took out the Mimikyu, and then I take out the SOS Pokemon. That's how I get through my trials fast. But it was actually pretty hard, and that's what I don't get. And yeah, it was pretty hard. Plus, the Mimikyu has Faint Attack, and that's not too good if you have Psychic type Pokemon, which you probably shouldn't. But what I recommend using is Decidueye. If you don't have it, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what other Pokemon you can use. You can use Dark types, which I think you should have by that point in the game. But yeah, I just used like a Leaf Blade to cut Mimikyu's disguise, and then I used Sinister Air Raid to take it out, and then I used just Spirit Shackle for the Haunter and Gengar. Yeah, I had to take out the Haunter and a Gengar. But it's honestly not too hard, but still pretty hard if you really don't have any Dark type moves or Ghost type moves. Luckily for me, I did. And the Mimikyu is pretty OP. I recommend staying there until you catch yourself a Mimikyu, because Mimikyu has some great potential battling abilities. And yeah, guys, that is it for today's video. Not really today's video, more of this week's video. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to smack a like and subscribe. It really helps. And I put some really hard work into this. It took me a couple hours to make this, with me searching up the levels that they come at and the totem Pokemon that there are. But yeah, and that is it for this week's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Yeah, guys, Gamer Central out.